Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Krishna Kumar. Krishna, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me, Nitin.
Pleasure is all ours. So let's start with who is Krishna?
I'm equal parts head and heart. I love equations. I love poetry. I was brought up to realize that making a difference in this world can actually be a pleasant experience. And I'm just fortunate enough to find a profession that gives collective expression to these personal traits. I conduct and lead policy research that typically addresses the needs of vulnerable global populations. In a nutshell, that's who I am.
That's a lot in very few words. Just knowing the extent of what you do, and words can't do justice. But thanks for sharing that. And now that we've gotten a fair sense of who you are, let's play a little game. Okay? We'll talk about these 10 different themes that impact us as humanity, as a community. But what's your take on it, right? Underrated or overrated? Okay. So when you're ready for it, we'll get started.
Sure.
All right, let's do this. So let's start with stock prices.
Overrated.
Okay. DEI.
Vastly underrated.
Stakeholder capitalism.
Overrated.
Okay. Real estate prices.
I'm sorry, realistic?
Real estate prices.
Underrated.
Okay. Startup valuations.
Overrated.
Okay. Crypto.
Vastly overrated.
To follow up on that, NFT.
I would say overrated as well.
The Great Resignation.
This is one thing I'll go neutral on. I think it is neither underrated nor overrated, though people can do both, but yeah.
Okay, I'll allow you to cheat there a little bit. What about inflation?
Underrated and underrated for a long time.
Yes. Okay. Cash.
Cash is always overrated.
All right, that was fun, Krishna. Thanks for playing along with me. Let's talk about RAND. Tell us what is it, and the size and scale, but most importantly, the impact. And then, of course, would love to hear a little more about your scope and your team and the work you do.
Sure, I'll take all these three questions together, Nitin, if that is okay. So RAND Corporation is a nonpartisan, nonprofit research organization. We develop solutions to public policy challenges to help make communities throughout the world safer, more secure, healthier, more socioeconomically prosperous. And what I do for RAND is I'm in my fifth week, the Vice President of International for RAND. I used to be the Director of International Research before that. And broadly, my job is to further increase the organization's global DNA. So in particular, to get into details, my responsibilities include growing our international work, overseeing our global offices, and coordinating across the various international entities that do work globally. And why do I do this? I'm passionate about this. I mean, the organization is passionate about this, and the ultimate aim is to increase the global impact of our research and analysis. We are a heavily mission-driven, impact-driven organization, so increasing it globally is our aim. When it comes to scope and scale, RAND is a $350 million plus revenue organization with roughly $20 million or so in international revenues, and hope to grow that considerably. But when it comes to impact, we bat well above our numbers. So Every year we judge ourselves not just based on research reports, journal papers, all of which matter for us, but also on the basis of impact. So just last year alone, to give a few examples, RAND's research has had an impact on telehealth provision for vulnerable populations, COVID vaccine acceptance among adolescents, addressing pandemic-related learning loss during an era of distance education. Internationally, Costa Rica's plans for a net zero carbon future, and increasing global security partnerships. So, we cover a vast amount of ground, and that's why I say, when it comes to impact, we bat well above our numbers.
Sure you do, and under your leadership, and congrats again on
Thank
that. I'm really excited to see how that impact continues to grow. So
Thanks.
again, kudos to you and the team for doing what you do. Which also brings me to my next question, which is dealing with that scale of operations across politics and diplomacy. And, it's not easy. But if you were to pick the biggest challenge you're facing as an organization, whether it's at the scope of RAND or within your team, what would that be?
That is a terrific question. Our president and CEO Michael Ridge uses the term truth decay to capture the trend of facts themselves being questioned increasingly. What is a fact is now under dispute. And for a nonpartisan organization such as ours that focuses on evidence-based research, this is a challenging development, right? Then on a related note, and contributing to some of this, is that we live during times of very shortened attention span and social media sound bites, misinformation, and so on. So selling rigorous research that creates durable impact is a challenge. Everybody wants an easy solution, a silver bullet to very complex problems that simply don't exist. So anyway, that's really our biggest challenge. And the way we've been addressing these is by relentlessly sticking to our values of objectivity and quality, just showing the durable impact. There's nothing like, no proof than actually showing the impact, no better proof. And then we articulate the value proposition of using evidence with rigor. And then we've just become more creative in communicating our work to policymakers and the public. Yes, the environment is changing, but we feel that we can cope with the environment without, giving up on our core values of objectivity, quality, and rigor.
Not an easy job. And again, I have full confidence in your leadership to keep us continue to make the right decisions, right? So
thank you. I'm only the tip of the iceberg,
Sure.
So I rely heavily, of course, on the organization and its structure, but at least in international, these are some of the things we hope to do.
On the other side of challenges come opportunities.
Mhm.
And again, the kind of work you do, there is a huge scope. I'm curious to know what's the one most exciting opportunity that you want to talk to us about.
Absolutely. So the world has made huge strides in the last few decades in eradicating global poverty. But despite that, nearly half the world lives under $5.50 a day. It's a threshold that World Bank and other organizations use to measure poverty. And sadly, COVID has only worsened global poverty and hunger. It has erased much of the gains we have made. So as an organization, I feel that if we want to further increase our global impact, we have to reach more of these people by addressing the policy challenges that they face. So increasing our work in this area, presumably using philanthropic support where possible, is at the top of my mind and a key opportunity we are targeting. It is both a challenge and an opportunity because we need to get the funding to do this work, but I'm confident, given the breadth and depth of our amazingly talented researchers and supporting infrastructure, that we should be able to do this.
Again, really excited to see how this comes along. And, I want to pause and kind of take a look back in the rearview mirror, and would love to hear an example of a time when things did not work out as you had expected, but also a time when things did work out and maybe blew your mind and give you that opportunity to brag a little bit, which you obviously don't do much. So yeah, would love to hear both sides of the equation.
Sure. Let's start with failures. There are just so many to choose from, Nitin. If we were to talk about them, I don't want to, let me put it this way, keep you from your family during the weekend. So I'm instead going to choose a lack of success, which is the other side of the coin, if you will.
Sure.
I used to be a computer scientist in a former life. I worked in Silicon Valley early on in my career, and I left just before a boom period because the software scene in India was heating up and I wanted to go make a contribution. I promptly left the startup there. I can get into details if you want, before it went public, to pursue a long and arduous path to becoming an economist. And I used to rue the loss of the millions I could have made if only I had stayed. And I was thinking, man, I have such an uncanny sense of bad timing. But as far as the lesson learned from it, in the longer arc of my career, these decisions seem to have been the right one. Any failure when it happens, as you know, can be unsettling, right? But when we look back, I find we are as grateful for things that didn't work out as for things that did. And life just seems to have a way of dragging us into becoming our truer selves. And at the end of the day, I think that is what matters, to find out where you as a person can have an impact. And for better or worse, this is where I am, and this is where I think I can make a difference. And trying to switch to successes. As of mid-2021, 84 million people were forcibly displaced around the world due to internal conflicts and wars. It is honestly one of the greatest humanitarian disasters of our time. In the Middle East, in Latin America, in Asia, in Sub-Saharan Africa, and more recently, tragically in Afghanistan, and even as we speak in Ukraine, in the horror that is emerging there. And I've been able to work on a couple of RAND projects addressing the challenges faced by refugees, especially in the Middle East. One of the longest, largest, and biggest projects I've done, it's a 300-page report, was to lead an effort to study labor markets of refugees in Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon, and how to come up with mutually beneficial policy solutions for them. So, but my own work is a very small portion of the work RAND has done as a whole to address the challenges of refugees in education, in health, employment, safety. So I'm really, very proud of our sizable portfolio of work in addressing challenges for refugees, and my own contributions to it.
As you should be. Thanks for sharing that with us. So
Thank you.
This brings me to my favorite part of the show, which is the one-line life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
These are simple, short, but profound, and I have personally found them to be life-changing. So I would love for you to share some of your one-line life lessons with us. And when you're ready, I'm all ears.
The mission is larger than any single individual.
Mm-hmm.
Be relentless and embrace the mess. The journey is the reward. I run, therefore I am.
Nice.
And life is a marathon.
I love those, especially the one about, accepting the mess, right? Which I think, when we think about the vision, the goal, the excitement almost overcomes us, and we don't realize what it's going to take. This also kind of relates to a lot of the, the sexy valuations that kind of come in the startup world. And you mentioned some, background that you have there personally. And we often talk about this overnight success. And the data clearly shows consistently that overnight success really took 10 years, right? There is no such thing. And the failure rate with not just startups, you talk about projects at companies, at corporations, within governments, there is so much failure because I believe there is such a lack of understanding and acceptance of the work it's going to take.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. It's we always just look at the successes and think it just happened overnight. There's a lot of failure. That's why I always, when I teach my students, I tell them, don't go to the person who's already famous.
Yes.
Always try to go to somebody who's like 10th on the list, because they probably have more interesting things to say, important things to say, right? There's this flocking to that one success, sometimes leads us astray, and it is, and you're giving up on a lot of interesting ideas that are still gestating in the most remote corners of the world. And this is where, for example, we talked about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, comes. And this embrace the mess is something that I tell myself too. I like to be planned and organized, but I'm sure you agree with this, Nitin, but true leadership is when things go wrong. That's when you really, need it, when things go off track, and rather than, seeing chaos as a problem, it is an opportunity. Every crisis, as the cliche goes, is an opportunity to be addressed. So can't agree with you more.
And you spoke my heart. And, just to add to that, there is one reason why we have been on a mission to bring what we call the everyday entrepreneur, or that everyday executive that is still making a lot of those decisions, may also be facing a lot of failure, because that's where the lessons are, right? Going to celebrity entrepreneurs, sure, a lot of other people are doing that, and they've kind of crossed the chasm, right? And they've maybe forgotten somewhat of the struggles, the challenges, and what it took, right?
Yeah. And absolutely. And also, I would just say, for someone like me who is embedded in a larger organization, maybe I would say intrapreneur rather than entrepreneur, but the principles, the ideas are very much the same. And never forget where you come from or came from, and also the view from the trenches is extremely important. That's, I would say, one of the things that I hope I never forget, where I'm constantly, involved in the people who are actually doing the work and enabling them. And a closely related concept to this, Nitin, is the whole idea of servant leadership. Yes, you have bosses, but you really do not work for your bosses. You work for the staff, the people who depend on you. And that is also related to all the things that you mentioned.
Krishna, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. We really appreciate you making the time, and couldn't be happier to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nitin. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I really appreciate your inviting me and for this great conversation.